All right, let's talk about Paranormal Activity 2. Now, there is another Paranormal Activity 2 called Paranormal Activity 2 Tokyo Night, and it was an official Japanese sequel, which I have seen. I don't want to make an entire video on it. Honestly, not a lot happens in it, but the premise of the movie is that a Japanese girl comes back from visiting San Diego and she hits someone with her car who we are led to believe is Katie after the events of Paranormal Activity 1. Like, she hits her and brings the demon with her. And then things start happening in their house. And it's not a very eventful movie. I still enjoyed it okay, but honestly, it's not like something you need to rush to if you've never heard of it and you're like, oh my God, I'm a huge fan. How did I not know about this? It is official, technically. They did have the rights to it. But the way I have fit this into the timeline is during Paranormal Activity 4, Katie goes missing, and her son then has to go stay with the neighbors, because it's never disclosed in Tokyo Night what year it's in. That to my memory. So she could have hit her with her car, and that's why Katie was in the hospital. And then, Katie gets out of the hospital because she's alive. That's how I'm going to see it. That's how I fit it into the timeline. So I think it could work, and it could be a part of the series if you really wanted it to. So anyway, I did want to talk about that movie really quick because it does exist and a lot of people don't even know about it. Now, when I went to go see this the first time, went to the midnight release. I drove all the way up to Flagstaff, which is an hour from here and an hour back. And when I got there, it was sold out. I didn't expect this movie to be popular at all, honestly. I underestimated it greatly. So I woke up that morning and I went to the 10 a.m. showing in Sedona, right where around I live. And then I went back to work and I really enjoyed the movie. And I was telling my coworker about it. And she was like, I really want to see it. My husband won't see it with me. Her husband and I and her all work together. So I'm not like taking out some married woman or anything. So don't get crazy. She was like, you should go with me. And I was like, I enjoyed it. Yeah, I'll go. So I saw this movie twice the day it came out in the theaters, in the morning and at night. And I actually drove up to see it the night before at midnight and didn't see it. So I actually went to the theater 3 times to see this and saw it twice. Oh my good God. And a funny part of this is I went up with this chick to the midnight screening, and for some reason she yelled out to the ticket takers as we were leaving, because she was mad too. She was like, next time, we're going to come back and we're going to see this movie and we're going to fucking see it in 3D, like at a different theater or something. I can't remember why. She was yelling. It was stupid. She was such a dumbass. But I remember sitting there laughing like out loud because it was like, why a found footage movie in 3D? That'll never fucking happen. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And then Paranormal Activity, the ghost dimension exists. And found footage 3D as well. But in this series, it even happened where they went 3D. I just never thought that would happen. And I thought that was pretty dumb at the time. Now this is the extended director's cut, which has a couple little more scenes in it. Doesn't add a ton, but I'll talk about some of the deleted scenes and whatnot. There's such a great family feel in this. Same with the next one as well, part 3. And this one's a prequel to the first one. And I'll talk about the fact that the next one's a prequel as well, which is crazy. And we get we get the whole house is ransacked, and this leads them to get security cameras installed in their house. This is a great organic way to make it believable why they would have cameras, and this takes away from them filming it. So if anyone's like, why haven't they stopped filming? Because they're security cameras. They're not going to stop filming them. So I like that there is an explanation that was well thought out here. And at the time, they did not market this as a as a prequel. So we had no idea what to expect. And when, Christy goes to open the door and Katie's there, you are so confused for the moment. And you're sitting there like, is this after? What is this? Oh shit, like she's already killed Mika by this point? Like, oh crap, what's going on? And then there's a line where they're like, well, Mika didn't come today. And she's like, oh, he wasn't feeling up to it. And you're like, oh shit, this is after. And then later in the movie, Mika shows up. And then it says 60 days before Mika's, and you're like, oh, this is a prequel. Like, oh shit. Like, you don't know anything up until this point. Because you didn't know this was her sister. You didn't know nothing. So when Katie shows up, you're like, oh, this is that sister. This is her sister. This is her 5-year-old sister she mentioned in the first one. So it was pretty cool to put that all together in the theater. And the only thing that they steal when they ransack the house is Katie's necklace that she made her, which I don't feel like ever really comes back into play in the movies. And then we find out in the third one that they also stole the box of videotapes that she left there. I think that the necklace thing was thrown in there to have some purpose or significance to it, but I don't think that it ever played out. But now, the like I said in the last video, the male leads in the first 3 especially are just hilarious to me, and the dad in this is great. Like when he comes in and the daughter is screaming that there's a big poop in the toilet, and he's like, "That's a stenchalada. Like you're grounded." Like he's grounding his daughter for this poop that she didn't even poop. That was great. And then, when his wife's in the bathtub and she's like, I kind of want you to smash me. And he's like, all right, I'll release the Kraken. Like, he's got some great lines throughout this movie. He's really making me laugh a lot. And it's sad to see Katie. I mean, that's kind of another thing that happens throughout these movies. It's just sad. It's fucking sad to see these families that are so loving and caring to each other fall apart. Like when Katie's there and she's interacting with her family and they're all so lovey with each other, it makes the events of part 1 so sad. It makes the events of part 2 so sad. The events of part 3 so sad. It just ruins good people's lives. I love that we get to see the pic of Katie that they find in the attic in this movie, unburnt, and obviously later it plays a major part of the reveal. And we also get to see the picture of Mika and Katie that was scratched up in the first film on the wall in the background in their house, which is cool. We also get to see Mika's fascination with cameras here when he finds out that they have, these cameras that are all up, and he's looking at all the features and he's like, oh, really cool. And he's like super crazy about it. He has the camera in the pool and he's like, I'm thinking about replacing my girlfriend with this camera. And she's like, uh-huh. Like you can see his, desire to own a camera coming into play, and how pessimistic and how much of a doubter he is of the paranormal when he's talking to the husband in this. And it's just, I love their little their little back and forth. And he's like, yeah, a pan fell down from the thing. And she's like, oh yeah, definitely have a ghost. And he's like, yeah, straight to ghost. That is just so the conversation I would be having. Like, yeah, camera, and I've dealt with that in girlfriends that I've had where it's like something super small happens and they're like, the house is haunted. And I'm like, really? That's all the proof you need? A fucking pan fell and the house is haunted? Wow, you don't need much. I need a lot. And I like that when you look it up. Now, the girl who plays Allie in this movie, she does look young, but she is 24 years old. I personally think she's very attractive, which I think pretty much every girl in these movies are. But Christy is only 30, so they're only 6 years apart in this. And she's attractive as well. I really like the Ouija board moment in this when the kid's spelling out pussy. That shit cracked me up in the theater as well. It cracked her up a lot as well. and this is retained here in this one and in the next one. The more you fear, the more bad shit starts happening, which Katie explains to her, and that's why Christy starts to try to bury it. Like, once Katie gives her the fucking rundown, and she's like, you want to end up like Mom. That line, I don't know, because I was watching the third one. I was trying to figure out, like, is their mom 100% dead for sure in that movie? And you can't tell. It looks like she is. Like, it looks like she's hanging, but she could just be suspended and thrown down the stairs and laying weird, but she could have been fine and then went to an institution. They could have been raised by their mom. I don't know. But it's, when I was watching it, I was trying to pay attention to that, and I don't know. That's a tough one. Anyway. And poor Abby. That's that damn dog. Ugh, that's terrible. But at least Abby gets to live. When she gets pulled down those stairs and into the basement, shit, man, that's when shit got wild. Like crazy all of a sudden. The kid being lifted up out of the bed was nuts, but her being yanked out the door, wow. Like, I feel like that scene has more going on in it than almost all of the first one combined. Like, that scene's crazy. And then she gets bit and she starts acting weird, just like Katie. We get like letters that are scratched into the door. It looked like M-E-L-K. Miak. I have no idea what they're getting at with that. Maybe if I took a closer look or something. I don't know. And we finally get the moment where the dad starts to believe. He sees the footage. I mean, I don't know how you could deny his wife being pulled down the stairs into the basement and not be like, oh yeah, maybe I should start paying attention. And then we find out that that Daniel is the guy responsible for fucking Katie and Mika. I mean, he burns the picture and plants it up in their attic and passes Toby on to them, which ends up coming to bite him in the ass. Little, payback, karma, I suppose. Katie comes and snaps his fucking neck. So. It does come back to him, and he loses his kid anyways, and his wife dies, so he prevents nothing. He just delays the inevitable. It's like Judgment Day. You can't stop Judgment Day because they need to keep making sequels. And the whole basement scene is just super intense. Like, the rocks are all like on the ground, and she's screaming, and that's a great scene. I really like that whole part. And I love that this movie just leads right into the day one of the first film. Like, we see Katie drive off in her little Mazda, and she pulls up like right in that scene. It's just such a great transition. And it says like Mika died on October 8th, and then it just cuts to October 9th, and Katie's still there, drenched in blood. Somehow she's been out for an entire night, where she was for that whole night. Like, why didn't she go to their house on October 9th, 8th? Like, I don't know. I guess it would have been too late, so they just made it a whole day. I don't know what she was doing for that whole day. Maybe she just walked over there, because they live in Carlsbad and she lives in San Diego, so she didn't drive. I guess she just walked, so that's why it took a full day. I don't know. And she just punches her sister, and she goes up into the camera, kind of a callback to the first one. And Katie walks pigeon-toed, which if you've ever met me, you know for some weird reason I have a fascination with girls who walk pigeon-toed. Don't ask me why. In the deleted scenes in this movie, Hunter goes missing, and they think he's in the pool. Christy dives in after him, and we get to see a mother frantic and will do anything to save her kid. And then they find him out in the road, and he's just like crawling around out in the road, and she grabs him and brings him back in the house. That would be fucking terrifying. So yeah, those are some deleted scenes, which I think are pretty cool, but I understand why they are cut out. All right, guys, moving on to part 3.